So Nisha, what's your favourite movie where you can see an actor's dong?
Obviously Hollow Man.
Better be. Kevin Bacon's big invisible penis. So funny. Fucking love my job. The film Hollow Man is perhaps best remembered as that movie where Kevin Bacon plays a dickhead who turns invisible. An effect that was achieved by scanning, and to quote, every inch of the actor's body, including his big honking bacon dong. Perfect, so.
That's a great line, big honking bacon dong.
It fucking is as well. I don't think we'll be able to use it in the takes. You can see me just crouching down to scroll down to what the next line is. Oh man, the trials and tribulations of filming shit when you can't see what I'm doing. I'm just like really subtly trying to scroll down to the next line in the article, and you're just like, yeah, big old Kevin Bacon down.
Yeah, because that happens in a video I'm actually editing at the minute where I start talking and you're like too busy crouched down. You're like, oh, sorry.
Oh yeah, shit, Nisha's talking. It's fine. Do you know what? Fuck it, include that take in so people can see that. There are mistakes that happen, unfortunately. But before we discuss the big honking bacon dong, we should probably spend a few minutes discussing how they achieved the effects in Hollow Man, because they were considered groundbreaking at the time and earned the team behind them an Oscar nomination.
Yeah, to say it's a film that's filmed in 2000.
Yeah, around then.
The effects to turn Kevin Bacon into a skeleton man are pretty impressive.
Yeah, because he does spend a good deal of that movie just a big screaming skeleton. And something I should point out is that those effects were largely the result of director Paul Verhoeven, who had a very specific idea in mind for the film and how they were going to achieve certain shots and the effects that he wanted. And according to the visual effects team, while the effects that Paul Verhoeven insisted upon were theoretically possible, they had no idea how to achieve them. And that's one of the reasons they earned that aforementioned Oscar nomination, because the stuff they did broke new ground and is something a lot of other visual effects artists were astounded by, because they couldn't believe how good the effects looked.
Okay, so...
There's the fire alarms going off in the office. Oh my God. I don't know if I have to leave right now.
Maybe you should.
Let's give it a minute. Let's get it a sec. Okay, I think it was a test. Either that or the fire department have got fucking nothing better to do and we're on that shit.
Bloody hell. So Paul Verhoeven had a lot of ideas for this film, and you said that it made filming quite difficult.
Yeah, that's because one of the things he absolutely insisted upon is that Kevin Bacon be present for every scene in which he's supposed to be invisible. Something he felt gave the things Bacon's character was doing more weight. And according to Verhoeven, one of the key reasons he did this is because he looked at early test footage where Bacon wasn't there, and they just asked actors to pretend that he was. The footage didn't look very good. For example, like, oh, you're in a fight scene with an invisible man, pretend he's punching you. It's very difficult to pretend to react to a hit that you don't know is coming and you can't see.
Yeah.
And just the effects to him just looked a little bit off.
So yeah, it must be difficult to react to something that is not actually there.
Yes, and it's something that skilled directors like Paul Verhoeven can get around via use of more practical effects. And an example that I like to use of how poor special effects can be when the actors don't have anything real or tangible to respond to when you're filming is the movie Transformers: Age of Extinction. And I've mentioned this clip before and I'll no doubt mention it again. And it's a clip in which a Transformer, a 30-foot tall, 200-ton robot, backflips into frame and fires a bus-sized machine gun into the air. But because this is a film directed by Michael Bay, who doesn't give a fuck, it's very clear that none of the actors had anything physical to react to and were instead just given a cue from off camera. Because as you'll see in the clip, people in the foreground of the shot do not react in any way when a 30-foot tall robot backflips into frame and starts firing a machine gun until about 3 seconds afterwards when I'm assuming Michael Bay was off screen saying, okay, action.
Yeah, so it's a very delayed response to something you would be like, holy fuck.
Yeah, it's not, because if that happened, like when that fire alarm went off, for example, I looked around and was like, wait a minute, where the fuck's that coming from? And I'm British, so my reaction was probably more muted than what other people's might have been. Because you can imagine, if I was that kind of YouTuber and in response to that fire alarm, I reacted, like, is it Markiplier who does all the reactions to scary games?
Yeah.
Do you imagine if I was one of those kind of YouTubers when that fire alarm went off and it was been, ah! And then that's your thumbnail and you put big dumb face in the thumbnail. And it's like, wow.
The British reaction to a fire alarm going off is, do you think that's real? Is it a test?
Yeah,
do we have to move?
That. Yeah, people saw me do that live, just go, the building could be on fire, but I'm not moving till I absolutely know for sure.
So many times I've heard a fire alarm and just been like, Do we have to move?
Well, I've told the story before about my old housemate in first year university where the fire alarm was going off and I saw her just stumble out of her bedroom in her pyjamas and she just looked at me and said, "Do you think it's real?" I went, "I don't know." What are you going to do? She said, "I want to get a shower. Fire can't get me in there." And it was fucking phenomenal. But anyway, like the inverse of that Transformers Age of Extinction example is the film Jurassic Park, which is directed by Steven Spielberg, who I think it's safe to say is a little bit better at his job than Michael Bay. And the shot I like to point to as a good example of how you use CGI but give it a weight and a feel is when the T-Rex throws a Velociraptor through a T-Rex skeleton and the T-Rex skeleton explodes at the exact moment the Velociraptor hits it, which was a practical effect filmed for real on the day of shooting. So the actors who were watching this fight between these two CGI monsters had something to react to. And their reactions were a lot more in keeping with what you'd expect to happen if you saw 30 tons of prehistoric fury just throwing down with a Velociraptor.
Well, isn't there that shot where the kids are trapped in the car and that like T-Rex like attacks it and they genuinely shit themselves?
Yeah, the famous story about that is the T-Rex model they had, which was the size of a real T-Rex, was just supposed to nudge against the glass, but it broke it. And the actors were genuinely scared, so their reaction of holding the glass up and screaming is completely 100% real. And Steven Spielberg was like, "Yes, perfect, leave it in." Before we move on, we have to mention Jurassic World, where they have an almost identical scene in which a T-Rex is fighting velociraptors, but because it's entirely CGI and they had no tangible practical effects happen on set, you just have this shot of Chris Pratt going, "Oh," as a big like CGI T-Rex tail goes over his head. And it looks so shit. Because you know he's like he was just told, "Duck, there's a CGI T-Rex attacking you." And all the actors just go, "Oh no."
If it was like a real prop, like fucking hell shit.
Yeah. Well, the best example of that has to be Inception, where it's Leonardo DiCaprio sat in a cafe and the cafe explodes, he realises in a dream.
Yeah.
And that effect was achieved by blowing up a cafe that Leonardo DiCaprio was sitting in, but not telling him.
Oh no.
So when he just like, that super slow-mo shot of him just going,
yeah.
You can't see what I'm doing, but the audience can. That's his legit reaction because he didn't know how big the explosion was going to be.
That's the best way to get
"Oh,
reaction.
fuck it. Boom! Ah! So let's bring it back to Hollow Man and one of my favourite facts about the movie, which is that Kevin Bacon was really annoyed when he found out Paul Verhoeven wanted him to be on set for every shot. Because when he first read the script and realised he was going to be the Invisible Man, he thought, what a sweet gig. I show up for 10% of it, do some voiceover and get paid. And then he actually had to turn up. And he's not in the movie, you can't see him. He's like, "Oh, God damn it." There's a behind the scenes interview with him. He's like, "My agent told me about it. What a sweet gig. I'm invisible throughout 90% of the thing. I'm not going to be on screen." And then you smash cut to him getting painted bright green. Because that's how they achieve the effect.
Right, so you said they had to paint him bright green.
Yes, or blue or black, depending on the background of the shot. And Nisha, you'll know more about this than me, but correct me if I'm wrong. The reason, for example, you would use a green screen is because green has very little flesh tones in it.
Yeah, that's
Which is why we stand in front of a green screen instead of, say, a blue screen, because it's easier to key around a human being in front of green because there's very little green present in a person's complexion.
Yeah.
And obviously we've had trouble with that in the past, and we can pull back the curtain on this, and it's on purpose. For example, we have a Fiend t-shirt here for the merch store. I'm not even holding it the right fucking way, which is green. And for example, if we want to, we can green screen this with the same colour as the background, and I can hide behind it. So I'm holding it in front of my face now. And I could like disappear, and we can make parts of my body disappear. And we can, if we want to, edit this back in if we want to, because the colour's not exact. But I'm hoping people see the idea. If you covered, for example, Kevin Bacon entirely in bright green, it'd be very easy to edit him out.
Yes.
And in that vein, they didn't just paint him bright green, they also made him wear bright green contact lenses and dentures. So they could CGI out his teeth, which before you ask, yes, was very uncomfortable, but also leads to some hilarious behind the scenes shots, because as I mentioned, they didn't just paint Kevin Bacon green, they also painted him blue and black. So you have all these behind the scenes shots of Kevin Bacon just looking like he's not been unlocked on a character select screen yet. Just in the background as like a shadow man. It's like, oh man, poor Kevin Bacon.
It must have been really frustrating to like, first of all, think you're not going to be in the film much. So you think, oh yes, it's going to be an easy gig. And then realise you have to be in like 100% of the film and then be painted multiple colours and like not even be seen in the final film because you're invisible.
And there's a lot of shots where he's underwater as well. So that was a problem because there had to be waterproof paint. But they didn't just paint Kevin Bacon bright green. Because Nisha, you'll know this. When you edit something out using like a green screen, for example, you have to put a background in, don't you?
Yeah, you have to have like a background plate as like a backup. So it's not just empty, it's empty space.
Yeah, so like I said, it just ended up looking like Kevin Bacon was just like the Predator or something with this weird mark around it. And the solution Paul Verhoeven had to this was to always have a clean master shot of every scene in the film in which Kevin Bacon had to be invisible, filmed using a state-of-the-art robo camera that could be programmed down to the millimeter in its movements.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot of hassle, but I can see why they'd get a robot to do it because repeating the same motion with a camera is extremely difficult.
Yeah, and a single like nudge in one direction would completely ruin the effect because you need the background to be exactly the same between takes. So you can only be achieved with a robot. The problem was the robot was so precise that any change they wanted to make to the storyboard would cost tens of thousands of dollars because they'd have to reset everything and redo all the special effects. So every shot in the movie that featured invisible Kevin Bacon was meticulously planned out. And as I mentioned, some of the stuff Paul Verhoeven wanted to do with the invisibility effect was stuff the visual effects team didn't even know if they could fully achieve in the way that he wanted. For example, the shots of him walking through smoke, the shots of him underwater, and the shots of him being partially burned.
But those shots ended up looking really good, so how did they actually achieve it?
They achieved them by scanning in every inch of Kevin Bacon. And there's behind the scenes footage of this process, which involves Kevin Bacon stood in front of a series of squares, just T-posing to assert his dominance. So they can take accurate to the millimeter measurements of his body, with which they then constructed a fully CGI Kevin Bacon, which they could then add various effects to after layering it on top of green screen Kevin Bacon. For example, like removing parts of his skin or making it like he's walking through smoke or swimming underwater. I've
got that image of him doing the T-pose in front of me and he's wearing underwear.
He is, yes.
So how did they get his penis in the film?
Well, that's the thing, because people out there might be having the same thought that Nisha is. Like, yeah, I definitely remember Kevin Bacon's Invisidong is in that movie. And to prove that, here are some clips with the Fiend logo over the penis, because we don't want to get this thing demonetised.
Okay, is that a real penis or is it a CGI one?
Well, here's the thing. According to Paul Verhoeven, it is Kevin Bacon's actual dong. And he's revealed in an interview that they did indeed scan every inch of Kevin Bacon's body, including the genitalia. And according to Verhoeven, they were so committed to modelling CGI Bacon as accurately as possible, they went as far to measure the thickness of his fingernails, which suggests that they modelled Kevin Bacon's penis with a similar level of accuracy.
I can imagine a lot of male actors would be quite embarrassed to do something like this.
I think just a lot of males in general, and I should address the fact there have been rumours swirling since this movie was released that Kevin Bacon used his star power to increase the size of his CGI dong on screen, which you can choose to believe or not believe. But I personally, though, do not believe that Kevin Bacon did that because he seems to find it hilarious that people pay money to go watch movies where they just are confronted by his big swinging dong. And he actually enjoys his idea so much that he has actively campaigned to put more penises in movies and on TV. It's a joke video that he made, but the message behind it is quite sincere, and it is, you turn on Game of Thrones and you've got female actresses getting the tits out every other week, but male actors are afforded the same privilege. Like, male actors can't get their wang out, and that's not fair. And there's this little breakdown where he's talking about all the movies in which you see his penis, and he says, yeah, man, hollow man, my dong's flopping out all over the time, it's great. People pay to see my wiener, I love it. I aspire to have that level of confidence and swagger. God bless you, Kevin Bacon. So Nisha, people might not know this or even believe it given the production quality of these videos, but your background is in film and visual effects, is it not?
Yes, it is.
And how annoyed do you get, or how annoyed did you get when you got brought onto the channel and I told you, yeah, we make it look shit on purpose?
To be honest, I didn't get annoyed because the course the course that I did wasn't really that fulfilling. So I don't feel like I learnt a lot from it, and I don't feel like I would have enough skill to do something of the professional level. Like you would see like Avengers and stuff like that. I would not be able
no
to
one's
do
expecting
that.
No one's expecting Avengers level quality effect from a YouTube video, but they do expect it to be well focused, which is my bad. I'm sorry. I'm doing the camera work this past couple of weeks and I've been really bad at it. But something I've noticed, I'm not sure if you have though, Nisha, is that we have been recording in quarantine for the last couple of weeks now. And those videos have now started going live, and we've got a lot of feedback saying they're virtually indistinguishable from the normal videos we will put out.
Yeah.
And you're the person who edits them. Would you say they're basically the same to edit, save for the extra finagling you have to do with audio?
Literally the same. Yeah, audio is the only different thing.
Because we have to sync up 2 separate bits of audio. But have you by any chance just seen any clips from late night TV shows that are now being recorded in the host's house? Have you seen anything like Colbert, James Corden, Jimmy Kimmel, Jimmy Fallon, and they're all recording in their own houses?
I've seen like screenshots, but I don't actually watch them.
Well, I'm mentioning this because they have worse audio and visual quality than we do. And we make our videos look shit on purpose.
Yeah.
We could put a clip in now of just some late night TV host, and you can see that their visual quality on their videos and sound quality is worse than ours. And Nisha, what are your thoughts about that?
Well, I imagine it's because they're used to being in a studio and having other people with professional equipment filming them, whereas they're stuck at home. They don't really have anything of that quality to film themselves, so they just grab whatever they've got available to them. Or
you
buy
presume that the
whatever's
studio
cheap.
Would send them something?
Maybe, yeah.
That
Apparently
a studio
not.
with its millions of dollars would have access to better quality equipment than we do. That I bought. Like, fun facts about the channel, when we were figuring out, all right, what equipment do we need? We just Googled how to make YouTube videos. And I bought the 5 things it told me to buy, including this microphone. And I don't know what it does, but it seems to have decent quality. And that was it. And you've got multi-million-dollar TV productions that have worse sound quality than we do. This thing costs like 80 quid.
Yeah.
You're recording your audio on your phone, Nisha, aren't you?
Yeah, I've got like a.
It sounds better than shit being put out by HBO. What?
That's something people have noticed as well, is like my audio or the camera person's audio is better.
Because it's been recorded in a soundproof room. Because it's not as well, because usually when we record and we're in person, some audio from the person off camera will be picked up by my microphone. Because it cost 80 fucking quid.
Yeah.
But the one that got me is when I watched Tiger King, and I heard, there's a new episode of Tiger King. I went, awesome. And it's literally Joel McHale sat in his front fucking room on an iPhone. I'm like, Netflix, this is the biggest shit you've got. Like, people are so hype about this, and you sent people a fucking iPhone. I'm putting more effort into my videos than Netflix is. Let that sink in. And we make ours look shit on purpose. Step it up, Netflix.